conflict resolution skills you need to polish to improve your interactions with people. Life is not easy, and there will be moments when you agree or disagree with a loved one, a friend, a colleague, or a stranger. You therefore need to learn how to identify a potential conflict when it's looming or in progress and find ways to manage it smartly. If you are able to develop and hone conflict resolution skills, you can keep your personal and professional relationships strong and growing, no matter the degree, cause, or nature of disagreements and disputes you encounter in life. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Today I want to talk to you about conflict resolution skills you need to polish to improve your interactions with people in life. In life, yeah. At work, in life, socially, you name it. Let's first understand what conflict means. Conflict is a normal part of any healthy relationship. So after all, two people cannot be expected to agree on everything all the time. Think about it, right? So the key here is to avoid conflict. Is not to avoid conflict, but to learn how to resolve it in a healthy way. So when conflict is mismanaged, it can cause great harm to a relationship. But when you handle it in a respectful, positive way, conflict provides an opportunity to strengthen the bond between two people. So whatever the cause of disagreements and disputes, by learning the skills for conflict resolution, you're getting a one step closer to keeping your personal and professional relationships strong and strong and strong. Now, what causes conflict? Conflict arises from differences, both large and small. So you can have conflicts whenever two people or three or four disagree over their values, motivations, perceptions, ideas, or desires. Sometimes these differences appear trivial, very small, but when a conflict triggers strong feelings, a deep personal need is often at the core of the problem. These needs are myriad. We have there you see the whole gamut. The needs can range from the need to feel safe and secure or respected and valued to the need for greater closeness and intimacy. Now, you want to think about the opposing needs of a toddler and a parent. Think about that. The child's needs is to explore, so venturing to the streets or the cliff edge meets that need, right? But the parent's needs is to protect, to preserve the child's safety, and that need can only be met by limiting the toddler's exploration. Since these needs are at odds, conflict will arise. So the needs of each party in a relationship, I'm talking now about adults, right? Those needs play an important role in the long-term success of a relationship. So each need deserves respect and consideration. So you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. In personal relationships, a lack of understanding about divergent needs can result in distance, arguments, and sometimes breakups. In the workplace, different needs can result in what? Lost jobs, for example, decreased profits, lower productivity, and broken deals. Now, one thing I want to really talk about before going into the skills is to deepen the conversation we had about conflict. Now, conflict, there are a few things you need to know about conflict. Of course, the word everybody understands conflict, but a conflict is more than just a disagreement. So it is a situation in which one of both parties perceive a threat. That's the key word here, a threat, whether or not the threat is real. Conflicts continue to fester when ignored, which is why earlier I was saying that the most important thing here is to find a way to manage the conflict in a respectful and smart way. Because conflicts involve perceived threats to our well-being and survival, they stay with us until we face and resolve them. We respond to conflicts based on our perceptions of the situation, not necessarily to an objective review of the facts. So the emotional mindset, the emotional state in which we are at a particular moment can cause our way of handling a conflict go one way or the other. So our perceptions are influenced by our life experiences, culture, values, and beliefs. Conflicts, you have to remember, folks, conflicts trigger strong emotions. So if you're not comfortable with your emotions or are able to manage them in times of stress, you will not be able to resolve conflict successfully. But one thing that a lot of people forget is that conflict, if you really think about it, and I think I alluded to it earlier when I said that conflicts allow you to strengthen and deepen a bond between 2, 3, or 4 people. Conflicts, really, when you think about them, they are a wonderful opportunity for growth, because when you're able to resolve a conflict in a relationship, it builds trust. You can feel secure knowing your relationship can survive challenges and disagreements. Now, unfortunately, there are moments when relationships cannot survive challenges and problems, and unfortunately, that inability to solve a conflict will lead to a divorce or a separation. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're also having a conversation here around conflict, and I want to talk to you about responding to conflict. So if you fear conflict or avoid conflict at all costs, there has to be a reason why. If your perception, say, of conflict comes from painful memories from early childhood or previous unhealthy relationships, you may expect all disagreements to end badly. You also may view conflict as demoralizing, something to fear, or humiliating. So if your early experiences left you feeling powerless or out of control, conflict may be even traumatizing to you. The thing here is to find a way to address conflict in a positive, fulfilling, and satisfactory way. So if you're afraid of conflict, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's say you enter a conflict situation already being threatened. It's kind of tough at that moment to deal with the problem at hand in a healthy way, in a healthy and objective way. Instead, you're more likely to either shut down or blow up in anger. And we've seen this in relationships, right? So now, there are healthy and unhealthy ways of managing and resolving conflict. What are the unhealthy responses to conflict? You are unable to recognize and respond to the things that matter to the other person. You are explosive, angry, hurtful, and resentful. You also may reflect a withdrawal of love, which results in rejection, isolation, shaming, and fear of abandonment. You are unable to compromise or see the other person's side, which is what I was speaking about earlier, being in the other person's shoes. Or you feel fearful or avoid conflicts, expecting a bad outcome. So those are the unhealthy responses to conflict. What are the healthy responses? You are managing a conflict very well if you're able to empathize with the other person's viewpoint. You are calm, non-defensive, and respectful to the other person. You are ready to forgive and forget, and to move past the conflict without holding resentments or anger. You are able to seek compromise and avoid punishing. Punishing that will come from holding grudges and saying, seeking revenge, right? I'm going to get you, all that kind of stuff. I'll get you. I'll get you later on. You also have a healthy response to conflict if you believe that facing conflict head on is the best thing for both sides. Let's have a conversation around conflict resolution, stress, and emotions. Now, conflict, as we all know, triggers strong emotions and can lead to hurt feelings, discomfort, disappointment, anger, frustrations, you name it. But if you handle it in a very healthy way, you can stop irreparable resentment and breakups. But when conflict is handled by both parties, by both sides, in a responsible way, it increases your understanding of the other person, builds trust, and strengthens your relationships. So if you're out of touch with your feelings and you are so stressed that you can only pay attention to a limited number of emotions, you will not be able to understand your own needs. So you got to understand your own needs first before seeking to understand the other person's need. Because if you don't, this will make it hard to communicate with others and establish what's really troubling you. For example, all couples throughout the world often argue about petty differences, the way she hangs the towels, the way he slurps his soup, rather than what is really bothering them. What I'm trying to say here is you got to look at the source of the problem, not the consequence. So if a husband is complaining about how his wife hangs the towel, that's not really what's bothering him. There is something else, because if he were having a good day or a fantastic day, he wouldn't be raising those issues. The same applies for a wife who complains about the way her husband slurps his soup. Again, the real cause of the problem is elsewhere, and the reaction is just a consequence of a conflict or an internal imbalance not taken care of. So the ability to successfully resolve conflict depends on your ability to manage stress quickly while remaining alert and calm. Your ability to control your emotions and behavior. So when you are in control of your emotions, you can communicate your needs without threatening, intimidating, or punishing others. You are able to pay attention to the feelings being expressed as well as the spoken words of others. You want to pay attention to nonverbal communication, the nonverbal cues. If you're able to successfully resolve conflict, it means that you are aware of and respect differences. So by avoiding disrespectful words and actions, you can almost always resolve a problem faster. To successfully resolve a conflict, you need to learn and practice 2 core skills. Number 1, and this is something that a lot of experts have recommended. Number 1, quick stress relief. So the ability to quickly relieve stress in the moment. So there, when you see a conflict building up, you're able to bring things down, breathe, take a walk, and be able to quickly relieve the stress. So that's the first skill, quick stress relief. Second core skill, emotional awareness. Emotional awareness is the ability to remain comfortable enough with your emotions to react in constructive ways, even in the midst of a perceived attack. And that takes training and patience. This is not something you just get overnight. Even if you are emotionally intelligent, it takes training and practice. I will be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How are you doing today? I hope you are still having a great time with us. And we're having a conversation here around conflict resolution skills and the ones that you need to polish in order to improve your interactions with people. And I was just talking to you earlier about 2 core skills you need to learn to get ahead. The first one being quick stress relief, and the second one being emotional awareness. Let's talk about those 2 core skills. First, I want to talk to you about quick stress relief. So being able to manage and relieve stress in the moment is the key to staying balanced, focused, and in control, no matter what challenges you face. So there are several ways to do this. You can actually find a way when you are overwhelmed, or where you feel like the tension is moving in your head, the tension is a mountain in your head. There are ways that you can actually manage things, to break things down. There are several ways. You can either withdraw. So basically you can get out of there. You can just take a walk. You can breathe a little bit and come back. We have a very famous psychologist, Connie Lillis. She uses a driving analogy to describe the 3 most common ways people respond when they are overwhelmed by stress, and we found it very great. So she says, foot on the gas, foot on the brake, and foot on both gas and brake. So Connie Lillis says that when you have a foot on the gas, this is an angry or agitated stress response. So you're heated, you're keyed up, overly emotional, and unable to sit still. When you have foot on the brake, this is a withdrawn or depressed stress response. So you shut down, you space out, and show very little energy or emotion. And then you have the foot on both gas and brake. So this is a tense and frozen stress response. So you freeze under pressure and can't do anything. So you look paralyzed, but under the surface, you are extremely agitated. Now, one thing you have to understand is that stress interferes with your ability to resolve conflict by limiting your ability to accurately read another person's nonverbal communication, to hear what someone is really saying. be aware of your own feelings, be in touch with your deep rooted needs, those under the surface, and to communicate your needs clearly. So if it's this is how stress prevents your thinking, prevents your acting, prevents your ability to interact favorably in a crisis situation. So if stress is a problem for you, you may be so used to feeling stressed that you're not even aware that you are stressed. So stress may pose a problem in your life if you identify with the following. You often feel tense or tight somewhere in your body. You're not aware of movement in your chest or stomach when you breathe. Conflict absorbs your time and attention. Besides talking about quick stress relief, there is a second way to actually resolve a conflict, and this is by building up your emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? This is the key to understanding yourself and others. If you don't know how or why you feel in a certain way, you will not be able to communicate effectively or resolve agreements. Now, why emotional awareness, rather, not intelligence? Emotional awareness is a key factor in resolving conflict, because it is, if you think about it, the consciousness of your moment-to-moment emotional experience and the ability to manage all of your feelings appropriately. This is one of the bases that researchers are saying can help you resolve a conflict properly. Emotional intelligence, and emotional awareness both help you to understand what is really troubling other people, understand yourself, including what's really troubling you. That's what I was talking about earlier when I talked about cause versus consequence. Emotional awareness also helps you to stay motivated until the conflict is resolved. It allows you to communicate clearly and effectively, and it allows you to show interest in others and influence them in a positive way. This is very important, a positive way. And you need to assess your level of emotional intelligence and your level of emotional awareness. And there are several ways to do that. So what kind of relationship do you have with your emotions? Do you experience feelings that flow? Are your emotions accompanied by physical sensations that you experience in places like your stomach or chest? Do you experience distinct feelings and emotions such as anger, sadness, fear, and joy? Can you experience intense feelings that are strong enough to capture both your attention and that of others? In other words, you just burst out, you just explode, for instance. Do you pay attention to your emotions? In other words, do they factor into your decision making? So if any of these experiences are unfamiliar, your emotions may be turned down or even off. In either case, you may need help developing your emotional awareness. One thing that the reason why you have to is because although knowing your own feelings may sound simple, many people ignore or try to sedate strong emotions like anger, sadness, and fear. So your ability to handle conflicts, though, depends on being connected to these feelings. You have to face them. You have to know them. You have to be comfortable with them. If you are afraid of strong emotions, or if you insist on finding solutions that are strictly rational, your ability to face and resolve differences will be limited. Let's talk now about nonverbal communication. This is an important element that can help you when it comes to solving conflicts. When people are in the middle of a conflict, the words they use rarely convey the issues at the heart of the problem. But if you pay close attention to the other person's nonverbal signals, or what people call body language, such as facial expressions, posture, gestures, and tone of voice, you can better understand what the person is really saying. This will allow you to respond in a way that builds trust and gets to the root of the problem. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, cause versus consequence. Now, let me give you a few tips for managing and resolving conflicts by using nonverbal communication skills, by using emotional awareness, by using quick stress relief. You can ensure that the process of managing and resolving a conflict is as positive as possible by sticking to the following guidelines. You want to listen to the other person. You want to be in the moment. You want to listen for what is felt as well as said. When you really listen, you can connect more deeply to your own needs and emotions and to those of other people. So listening also strengthens, informs, and makes it easier for others to hear you when it's your turn to speak. Make conflict resolution the priority rather than winning or being right. Focus on the present. So if you're holding on to grudges based on past conflicts, your ability to see the reality of the current situation will be impaired. So rather than looking into the past and assigning blame, focus on what you can do in the here and now to solve the problem. Please remember that you need to pick your battles. Conflicts can be draining, so it's important to consider whether the issue is really worth your time and energy. Maybe you don't want to surrender a parking space if you've been circling for 15 minutes, but there are dozens of empty spots, so arguing over a single space isn't really worth it. Be willing to forgive if you want to be forgiven. If you want folks to act in a certain way with you, you should start by showing them the way here. So resolving conflicts is impossible if you are unwilling to forgive others or you don't want to forgive them. You are unwilling or unable, rather, to forgive them. So resolution lies in releasing the urge to punish, which can serve only to deplete and drain your life. Know when to let something go, folks. Very important. If you cannot come to an agreement, agree to disagree. It takes two people to tango. It takes two people to keep an argument going. So if a conflict is going nowhere, you can choose to disengage and move on. And the reason why, again, going back to what I said about energy draining, you don't want to. A lot of people think, well, when I'm having a conflict, when I have a conflict, I want to win, quote unquote, win. But win at what cost? Even if you win, even if the other person disengages or bows to your needs, are you really winning here? Is it the kind of victory you want? Is this a clean victory? Is it a clean win? Not necessarily. You can also use humor in conflict resolution. You can avoid many confrontations and resolve arguments and disagreements by communicating in a humorous way. So humor can help you say things that might otherwise be difficult to express without offending someone. However, remember though, it's important that you laugh with the other person, not at him or her. So when humor and play are used to reduce tension and anger, reframe problems, and put the situation into perspective, the conflict can actually become an opportunity for greater connection and intimacy. Thank you so much, folks, for today's conversation. I really appreciate having you around and having this talk with you. I will see you next time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.